Today I'd like to invite our chime to sing, and I'd like to share with you a sentiment of metta, loving kindness. And let's see if I can find one to share with you today. Here we go. This one reads, "May you be here, this day, this moment, this practice. May you be here, today, right now, this moment, this practice." Friends, for the month of July, we have been exploring the Noble Eightfold Path, and we have been very specific on focusing on the last four aspects of wisdom guiding this new way of life, this mindful, awakened way of life. So we've been exploring wise effort, wise livelihood, wise mindfulness, and wise concentration. Today, I'd like to share with you a very specific concentration style of meditation. And this is called Anekantavada. Anekantavada. And Anekantavada is deep looking. It's all about focusing on something and looking at it from as many angles as possible, but not getting caught by the story of what you're seeing. So for our concentration practice, there's a couple of elements, there's a couple of conditions that we have to become aware of before we can settle into this practice. The first is the foundation of mindfulness. Specifically, the third and fourth foundations. What are my thoughts? And what are the mental formations, the perceptions that are linked to those thoughts? I call them stories. What are the stories I'm telling myself? Yesterday, we had the privilege of listening to the wisdom of Shantideva in the great work regarding the guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life. This is a reminder that there are people who have come before us who have created and shared their roadmaps, their style of how to awaken to the conditions of their own misery. They show us how to awaken to the conditions of habit energy that inhibits us from really sinking into the preciousness of this life, the mystery and its wonder, to really connect to our core consciousness, our Buddha nature that is incorruptible and has existed since beginningless time. In other words, we have all of these human experiences and we get buried by them. And we deprive ourselves of joy and wonder, curiosity and presence. And instead, we become these reactive, impulsive, obsessively negative people. So I'd like to share with you my motivation for this practice. And that is a very simple recognition. There is enough aggression and hostility in the world. It doesn't need my impulsive, negative, attached way of being. I don't need to add to the worry. I don't need to add to the hostility. I don't need to add to the uncivility. Instead, my karma and your karma are ripening in such a way that we have we have determined an hour out of our precious lives to come into community and to do something akin to what Shantideva encouraged, which is guard your mind. Protect your mind. As much as your mind has the capacity to go off in all kinds of disfigured thinking, your mind also has this capacity to be spacious, curious, and present. But we have to train the mind. We have to spend some time with our own minds and our own hearts. And we have all decided to do that today. It's amazing. And I want to thank you for it. Today, in our concentrated practice, the Anekantavada practice, there's another way of thinking about it. I like to call it, put the hammer down. Let the nail drop. So, I'd like to invite your imagination to see a piece of wood and notice a little nail, a good-sized nail. And with a little bit of pressure, the wood is soft enough that with just a little bit of pressure, you're able to place the pointed end of the nail into the wood so it stays upright. And let's pretend for a moment a thought comes along. For me, in my first person experience, a lot of my fear and anger and frustration, a lot of those thoughts and irritability, one of the things I've noticed that I do is I have a propensity to blame all of it on the political landscape. So I could have some irritation related to something else, but I don't want to look at that something else. Instead, I'm going to jump into the political landscape and allow my anger and frustration free rein. Just, the shackles are off, the gloves are off, and I am just mad and angry. And so before I know it, I'm hammering that nail over and over, obsessing, angry, pissed off. I've got all these feelings, I've got all these stories, and I'm completely attached to it, and I feel completely righteous about it, and it all feels so real. But I'm hammering away, not paying attention. I don't even see that on top of the nail, the words "let go" are stamped into it. I'm too busy hammering mindlessly. And here's the most pathetic thing about my action. I'm not building anything. I'm just hammering. So the practice is, put down the hammer, because there's another nail sitting right next to the one I just pounded into the wood. And with a little bit of pressure, I can insert it into the wood, but I don't have my hammer. And now I'm just looking at the nail upright in this wood. It's made a gentle little impression. And now I'm able to look at the nail and just notice it. And I've created enough space around the wood and the nail and around me that even though I have all these feelings that feel so real, and even though I have all these thoughts and stories that seem so determined and tangible, I'm just letting them be. And instead, I'm concentrating on the wood, the nail itself, the hammer nearby, the conditions. And before I know it, a little jostle of the wood and the nail plops over. And I've just released all of that energetic attachment to these stories. I'm simply observing the conditions. But I can't do that if I don't concentrate. And if I don't take a vested interest in looking at the conditions and practicing. So I have a prop here today that I'd like you to look at. And I'm going to show it online first. And maybe Lo, can you, hold it up there so everyone can see. All right, we're going to put that later. And I'm just going to show you this dolly. And I want you to look at this doll. And I'm going to show you this dolly from all angles. And my purpose for bringing her today is to invite you to look and then to observe any stories or any thoughts that might be coming up for you. And they may, and they will, in fact, come up. There will be wonder. For instance, it's hard to overlook that my doll has a giant scar on her face. And in your wondering about what might have happened, a story might start to emerge. A memory might start to come forward. And the invitation is to acknowledge that and then put it down. Because you don't know what happened to this doll. And simply observing scar, that's enough. Let it go. Put it down. Here are her little shoes. Take a look. Here's her best friend. This is her best friend. Her name's Holly. Notice any differences in the two. Just observe. You might even be wondering, what on earth is Julia doing, showing me these dollies? So in the quiet space now, all I want you to do, all I've done here is stir the pot of thought and story. And I invite you to let those stories and thoughts rise. But you don't have to do anything with them. They can rise almost like steam coming off a boiling pot of water. Because you don't know the story here. You've just seen something. And the mind is trying to concoct an understanding to fill the space of what you don't know. This practice is simply being able to sit with, I don't know, I see a scar, I don't know what that's all about. I just noticed a story popping up about it. I can put that story down. I don't have to hammer it into something that feels more real. And I'm sharing this with you using a very innocent, sweet, playful, silly example, because practicing with sweet, silly things is infinitely easier for when we encounter the more difficult things. Like cravings, like sour interactions with loved ones, like criticism, blame, worry. And we're not letting things go. We're not putting things down because we're trying to tell ourselves they don't matter. That's not the point. The point is training the mind to have a little bit of ease. I don't know the answer to that, so I'm going to put it down. And I'm going to be with my mind for the next thought that comes up. And rather than feed that thought into a story and hammer away, I'm going to let that one come down. And maybe notice a condition that fed that thought and story. And I'm even going to put that down. Letting it come up, putting it down. Acknowledging the thought and story, putting the thought and story down. Over and over and over. There's a time and a place to pick up a thought and trace it. There is a specific meditation that I call tracing meditation, but that's not what this is. This is allowance and rest, allowance and settle, over and over. I'll hold the doll again so you can see. Just have a little stimulus to look at. Allow your mind to be stirred. Allow the thoughts to come forward. See them. I see you, thought. I don't know the answer. I'm going to put that down. Friends, the motivation for this practice is recognizing my capacity to feed the negativity that is already so strong in the world with my own mindlessness, with my own propensity to be bothered and annoyed and dysregulated and reactive and frankly unskillful. I have the capacity to engage in all of those non-virtuous things and to cultivate non-virtuous qualities like envy and jealousy, greed, sloth, all of it, because I'm a whole human being. But I see the misery that it causes in me and the people around me. And I don't actually want to do that anymore. I want to do something else. I want to create options for myself to live my life in a different way, in a way that brings ease and peace, curiosity and wonder. I want to live in such a way that invites myself and my people that I love in my life, you, this community, to remember innocence and play and joy and kindness. But to do that, I have to make an effort. And I have to be mindful. I have to be in the moment, looking at things, looking at the conditions of my life and noticing when my mind is spinning off in some direction. And with a concentrated effort, I can bring my mind back and go, yeah, we're not gonna react to that. We're just going to observe and put it down. Yesterday, Shantideva, in the guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life, asked a really beautiful question. What is your mind thinking? What is your mind doing? Imagine if you go into your day today, and instead of asking someone, so hey, how you doing? You ask, what's your mind thinking? You know, ask somebody that you really care about. You know, I see you here. I really want to be present with you today because I love you. What's your mind thinking? What's your heart feeling today? This is what my mind's thinking. This is what my heart's feeling. What a totally different way to engage people. What a change that could make all the difference in the world. So let's dedicate this practice today. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. Dwelling in the present moment, this moment. What a wonderful moment. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. Dwelling in the present moment. This is a wonderful moment. That is a breathing mantra by Thich Nhat Hanh. And may it serve your mind and your heart to harmonize them, to allow your presence to solidify in loving kindness and compassion, joy and equanimity. And may those qualities, those limitless qualities, infuse your presence, and may you carry that presence into the world so desperate to have it. What a breath of fresh air you'll be. I hope to see you again soon, friends. Have a wonderful afternoon. Namaste.